and gentlemen, welcome to the Board of Trustees public hearing in the Village of Fredonia, 911 Church Street in Fredonia, New York. Today's date is February 18, 2025, meeting starting at 5:46 p.m. I'm Mayor Mike Ferguson. This being the time and place for the public hearing on the Community Development Block Grant Project supporting the renovation, equipping, and furnishing of the White Inn in the Village of Fredonia. To hear the views of the public regarding any aspect of the project's implementation, persons unable to attend may send comments to Fredonia Village Clerk at netsync.net. That's Fredonia Village Clerk at netsync.net prior to 4 p.m. on the hearing date to be read and entered in the record. And I don't believe you received these one.
I did not.
Proof of publication is now being shown, and I call this hearing to order. Do you have anybody set to speak on this?
I do. Thank you.
Certainly. Can you come up to the podium?
Yes.
Thank you. Can you give us your name?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Rosie Stramberg. I am a project manager of the Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation. This second public hearing is being held pursuant to the requirements of the Community Development Block Grant Program. We are required to compile a list of people attending the hearing, so we ask that all members of the public who are joining the hearing sign in if you haven't already done so. The Village of Fredonia was awarded the Community Development Block Grant funding through New York State Office of Community Renewal to assist the White Inn at 52 East Main Road in the Village of Fredonia. The project is complete and opened in November 2024, and employment positions have been filled. At this time, does anyone have comments on the project's implementation, including but not limited to any construction, financing, and employment opportunities resulting from the project? If so, please just state your name.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Michael Barris. I live at 154 Center Street, Fredonia, New York. I have been a patron of the White Inn for 75 years. My parents before me were patrons 100 years ago and continuing for several decades. I appreciate the fact that the White Inn has maintained its interior appearance constantly throughout the 75 years of my attendance there. So we had family events, Easter dinners, birthday parties, wedding proposals, wedding receptions, and funeral receptions. In addition, I've attended political events there. I've attended meetings of community organizations. I've seen state and federal officials give speeches there. The thing that's most interesting about it is, and that's important about it, is that it remains very much the same as it was 75 years ago in my memory. There's always been a constancy. So when one goes there, one can always be assured of what one is going to encounter. So that's been a very satisfying thing. 10 years ago, there was a change in management which resulted in a cutting of the trees in the front, which were a landmark of the property. And there was also some renovations which were tawdry. 7 years ago, the White Inn ceased to operate. So, and that was a great regret. Mayor Landis at the time collaborated with Steve St. George to start the issue of renovating the event. And finally, in 2024, November 2024, the White Inn reopened. The public areas look very much like what it did in the previous 75 years. And this is very important, I think, for those people who have lived here in a long time. There's just a feeling of nostalgia. I think Mayor Landis was probably the first mayor who became active in starting the process to grant funding or seek funding to return the White Inn to its original status. And that has been continued through the reign of Mayor Essex and of our current mayor, Mayor Ferguson. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other comments to the project? Okay, there being no further comments, this public hearing can now be closed. Thank you.
Before we close, I do want to mention, and thank you, Dr. Barris, for your comments, because everything you mentioned about it is very true. The ability to keep it as it was known is very important, and I do know, having spoken to Mr. St. George, that there are going to be other additions back to this summer once the weather changes, but the weather kind of caught up a little bit fast to get everything exterior-wise that they wanted to get done. And thank you, your organization, for supporting that and seeking it through. And it's been a tremendous part of the revitalization of downtown Fredonia, and it's bringing people back that have not been here in a long time, because they remember that and they celebrate not only their own families, but our families here in Fredonia with us. So thank you very much. We also want to thank Steve St. George. We have yet to be able to set a date and time. We had the key to the village to give him, and they haven't done a ribbon cutting just yet, but I think they've been too busy being busy to have a ribbon cutting at this point. But we're very proud of the fact that the White Inn is here. So anyone else that would like to speak before we close this meeting?
I just had a question. Does this obligate financial commitment from the village in any respect? The CDBG grant?
No, this is a grant from Office of Community Renewal. The village is essentially a pass-through.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So any other comments before we close the hearing? Last time, is there any other comments before we close the hearing? If not, I move to close the public hearing.
I make a motion that we end the public hearing.
Second.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will reconvene at 6 o'clock for the village workshop. Thank you. That was supposed to start at 6 o'clock. It is 6:02.
That's terrace.
911 Church Street, Fredonia, New York, on this February 18th, 2025. I'm Mayor Mike Ferguson. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take roll. Trustee Esperson.
Here.
Trustee Brockler.
Here.
Trustee Syracuse.
Here.
Trustee Wendell.
Here.
Trustee Twitchell.
Here.
Thank you. Resolutions. Number 1, approval of the 2025 Fredonia Farm Festival dates.
Are they requesting to close streets or
Same as last year.
the
Yeah.
same as last year, Bob?
Same as last year, except they're gonna start with activities on Friday.
On Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the whole day on Friday or just the
I
late
Evening.
think it's just the evening.
evening? Okay.
Yeah, so it's listed as 3 days, but it's really just the evening of
Like
Friday.
2.5.
Yeah.
And they'll be done by 5 o'clock on Sunday.
I think I'd like a little bit more explanation on that, especially about closing the streets. Just so we can have it documented, because it's pretty short. It just gives them permission to do it, but it doesn't say, you know, what streets, what time of the day.
I think they had indicated that there would be, information forthcoming.
Yep, an updated detailed
Yeah.
request will be submitted approximately 6 to 8 weeks before the festival date, and a copy of the required insurance form will be kept updated with the village clerk's
I think I'd
office.
like to see that before we pass the resolution though.
Yeah, we pass this like this every
Yeah,
year.
I know, but my question is, it's not in there fully.
We never have it in there fully for the
Well,
initial
maybe we
resolution.
should.
Well, I think what we're doing is just guaranteeing them those dates.
Yes, that's all we're doing,
That's all we're doing.
is telling them.
We're
when
giving
they're
them
We're
gonna
just
have
giving
dates.
them the dates
Yeah.
and the details will be forthcoming?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it should say that in here.
It does.
Where does it say that?
It says, update the detailed letter submitting approximately 6 to 8 weeks before the event. It's in the resolution.
Yes, it's right in the
Okay,
resolution.
so that includes the street closing and the times?
Well, the resolution does not, but
Right,
our
no,
updated
but the
information.
update, well, that's what I'm
Yeah.
asking.
Because we will have to vote on
Right.
that too.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we get all the information.
And Trustee Brockler's on that board, so he can,
Okay.
pass on those.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Resolution 2, calling for public hearing for local law number 3.
It's the violation fee schedule change. I did actually have something on that. As we discussed at the last, meeting, in consultation with Chief Price, because he has to order new tickets, there's like a 2-month lead time. So instead of, either we don't file this immediately, or we change, the language on section 2.
So.
Do we just wanna table this until he has the new tickets?
Yeah, I think we need to pass it before we order new tickets.
Why don't we just make it effective at the beginning of the fiscal year?
That's fair.
He gave a cost on those tickets, correct?
He did,
Yeah.
yeah,
$3,000, I believe.
something like that, which was gonna be paid for within a couple of months of.
Right.
This is just calling for the public hearing, you're
Right.
aware of that, right?
Yeah,
So we can wait to put it on a couple meetings if you'd like, after the
To
public hearing.
discuss it more.
he's not here, I wanna ask him if he ordered them yet,
Oh,
but you're right.
I
It's
mean, I
just
can
public
just
hearing,
wait,
then we
yeah.
can, yeah, alright.
Approval of elevator maintenance proposal number 3.
Yes, I understand the Opera House did pay for a part of that. And we did need some maintenance on the elevator, and we would be responsible for that. We might want to start looking in for grants to replace the elevator, because I know they did mention that it's getting pretty old and obsolete. So I would like to suggest that we take a look at grants for that.
What we found out at WCA home is the older the elevator, the harder it is to find parts.
Correct.
Yes.
They want to talk with Steve St. George too, who replaced the old elevator with the new elevator, and find out who he used.
Yeah.
Number 4, approval of meeting start time, immediately following the workshop. Number 5, approval of amended committees.
I did want to speak about that one. I did want to be on
I'll get it.
the building inspector. There's just one trustee on that, trustee Brockler, and I would like to request that I be placed on that, because I've been working with Chuck on some items there that are important to the village. Yes, that's it, zoning and code enforcement.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't see
So
it.
is everyone good with that?
Yeah, there's only
Yeah.
one trustee on there now.
Yes.
So there could be 2 of us,
Yes,
yes. that would
okay,
not be a
thank you.
problem.
Yes.
Number 6, ESI group approval. Number 7, approval of local law number 1 of 2025.
Well, hold on, what is ESI? Is that
It's the
our,
insurance,
okay, that's what I thought.
Approval of local law number 1 of 2025. Approval of local law number 2 of 2025.
So local law,
Local law number 1 was waiving our rights to receive taxes on properties occupied by a solar.
That was an exemption.
If we don't pass it, then they automatically get an exception.
Right.
So we're opting out of that.
okay,
So it's taxable.
okay,
So if we vote for it, then it would be a taxable
Right.
scenario.
Yeah.
okay.
Approval of local law number 2 of 2025.
That would be the solar law?
Correct.
And that's the actual solar law, okay.
Training request from Matthew Edwards, number 9. Number 10, training request of Louis Fred. Before we go on to resolutions,
There were a couple of walk-ons as well.
right, before we go any further,
Okay.
I do want to address the amendment of committees. I had requested, when it was brought up, to 3 times, that if there were changes that needed to be made, people would discuss it prior to bringing it forward. And there's no professional courtesy in returning the reason why or why not. People did not want to come in and discuss that. I was not happy with that, nor was I happy with the way it was taken care of at the last meeting. It is the mayor's job to assign committees. I spoke to several people and discussed why I put those committees together. And while I give each board member in this room the respect that they request, I ask the same in return.
It is the job of the mayor to assign committees at the organizational meeting. However, any edits are then up to the board after that.
You passed it 2 weeks earlier. Once it was passed, it was passed. So,
And then the board has the authority and the ability to further amend them.
right, but I think out of courtesy and respect, you could at least have sat down when I said I would be happy to meet and make any changes or suggestions that you may have. And I wasn't even given a return phone call. So,
I expressed to you why I was bringing it forward to change the committees.
regardless, I was just saying, so. We have walk-on resolution.
Budget amendment, walk-on resolution. The one we discussed at the special meeting that we had
yes.
last week.
It says, be it resolved that pursuant to section 5-520 of village law, the attached budget amendment is approved.
Yes.
That's the one.
And also, I did have a request for a resolution to be put on, and I asked Anne Marie about putting it on the agenda, and she told me it was too late on Friday that I would possibly have to make a request if it could be a walk-on. And it's the resolution for the renewal of the Portland Pomfret Dunkirk Sewer District contract.
Well, we have to pass this one, or, correct? No, we do that in the meeting.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Well, I'd like to open this up for discussion then.
You wanna discuss the resolution? You wanna discuss what you had submitted?
What I had submitted, correct. And also, I did want to discuss about how Chautauqua County sent us a contract to sign, and normally, we don't do it that way. It's like the tail wagging the dog. We've historically, our last contract, which I have right here, is one that was drawn up by the Village of Fredonia. And I really don't feel that the county has any right in drawing up a contract for us.
Well, I agree with that sentiment, and there were things in that contract I do not agree with and I think need to be changed. Especially the term of 32 years.
30 years,
Seems
right.
a little crazy. None of us will be here in 32 years to,
I know,
Yeah.
thank you.
Speak for yourself.
well, sorry.
Some,
There's a good
some of us
possibility.
may be.
There's a good possibility that we'll be here. You know, in reading over the request, I think a 200+% increase is kind of out of whack. I mean, there's no way they would ever sign that, for one thing. But a 200% increase coming out of left field, I mean, you know, it's been stated in the past that the reason there's hesitancy to join the North County Water District or buying water from Dunkirk is at any time they could just change the rates, and it seems like that's what we're trying to do. And I looked at the supporting documentation that you included regarding the 59, Movieplex 59. That contract, how they were signed that, I'll never know. But, I mean, that's 2 parcels of land that encompass currently 4 businesses. And we, according to the contract, we maintained, repaired, replaced all the infrastructure. The PPSD maintained, repairs their own infrastructure. And we know exactly what the flow is from PPSD. We know what that flow is.
You mean,
currently,
what's S?
PPFD.
Pomfret,
Oh,
Portland.
sewer district.
Sewer district.
Dunkirk,
Yeah.
sewer district, okay.
Currently, that Plaza 59, they're no longer, the prior contract expired in 2020. Since then, they've been included in the town of Pomfret. So they're paying $1.05 more than the villages per thousand. So asking for $14 per thousand from a district that's 99, if not 100% residential,
That's a residential district?
yeah, PPSD is, yeah. Hoisting that, I understand why. I understand your reasons.
I'm looking for a
doing it.
revenue source.
But it's not gonna help our budget because it goes into the sewer reserve fund. So
It's
not
used
filling
for
any-
maintenance too.
yeah, it absolutely is.
It's used for maintenance and
It
for,
absolutely is. I mean, I think I would agree that if ever, when the time comes that we have to raise our rates to our users, whatever percentage that increase is, that's the percentage increase that I would like to see in the contract. Not the dollar amount, but the percentage.
so $14, I know, I did go for the top dollar amount. But I think it's unfair to village taxpayers for them to be paying less than half of what our village residents are paying for sewer charges.
I could see bringing their rate up to whatever the percentage increase that, since theirs was last increased, whatever percentage the village has increased its rates by, we should increase their base. And then if we increase rates by that percentage, keep them up to date.
We are allowed to charge 1 1/4 more than what our residents pay.
Just because we're allowed to do it doesn't mean we should do it. I mean, I think that's,
1 1/2.
I just think twice what we're charging our residents is just not doable. That's just
No,
like I said, a 200% increase, 200 plus.
okay,
percent increase
I,
is just not.
I agree with you on that, but I feel that we should raise it. That's my point. If no one's gonna agree at 200%, I can understand that.
Well, I
Can I
think,
make
you
a
know,
suggestion that we work through numbers with Alyssa to find out what the revenue, additional revenue would be based on, instead of trying to figure out what that figure is going to be here.
but having that conversation and excluding the district in that conversation is just spinning our wheels, because we could come up with something that we may agree with and they never will. So what have we done?
Well, I don't think they have anywhere else to go though either, John.
Well,
I mean,
that-
if you think they're going to hook up to the city of Dunkirk sewage, they will not be able to do that.
Yeah, and I agree.
No, but just because they have
Yeah.
nowhere else to go, that doesn't mean that you
Well,
charge
we are
them.
able to charge a
unnecessarily.
fair rate. And I'm looking out for the village taxpayers.
Well, all I'm
Right
asking.
now, for how many years, they've been getting away for paying less than what our residents are paying for sewage.
All I'm asking
And I don't think that's
is
right.
if we're
If
gonna.
you were paying that though, would you think that's a fair rate?
You know what, Nicole? I don't live there. And I live here and I represent the village. So
If we're gonna
that's a
have the
silly
conversation,
question.
all I'm saying is let's
No, it's
include
not.
the district in those conversations. That's all I'm asking. Otherwise, you know, it'll amount to nothing if they're not part of
Correct.
Not part of the negotiation.
This should be
Yeah,
like
you
any
can't-
other contract
What
negotiation
I
we
don't
have.
like is that the county legislature, back in September, passed a resolution that we only charge $3.08 per thousand.
Which, that's what we're currently charging them.
Well, they passed a resolution forcing us into continuing that plan for 30 years, and I think that was outrageous.
I agree.
I
don't
have
think-
to say.
They didn't force us to do it. They sent us, you know, the
Well,
contract
they
to sign.
told me they spoke to 2 people from our village board, so
Who did they say they spoke to? I would like to find out who that was.
you were one of them.
They never spoke to me about that. I
Well, he
never
must've
had
been
that
lying to me
conversation
then.
with anybody about this.
Pierre told me that.
I had a conversation with
Yeah.
Pierre because he went to one of our meetings that we had to figure out what the rate
Mhm.
should be. But never did he say 30, he never, ever brought that. And that conversation was had 6, 8 months ago.
In
That
fact,
was
one of
back
the
in
discussions,
September.
one of the discussions was that they were only going to extend it for a year. And now the next piece of paper we got is
Yeah.
30 years. I would highly suggest we don't sign anything for
No,
30 years.
Right.
no.
Yeah.
Or anything beyond 5 years. We've got a couple contracts we're stuck with now that we're locked in for quite a while.
And actually, we invited him to that meeting because he's in charge, I think, of the Chocolate Lake Sewer District. He kind of manages that, so we wanted his expertise.
Well,
of
I don't
how-
want him managing our district.
He's not managing our district. We went to him for advice to ask him, okay, in that district,
Advice.
in
I
that-
think I'd go to our lawyer for advice.
we wanted advice from someone that had worked with it, that has been working with the sewer district for quite a while, to find out what equation they use to come up with their figures, what their customers get for their money, to compare to what we're doing. Okay, that's,
That falls on them, John.
so we should have.
However,
kind of-
they figure out, we have a
Alright.
meter down there in the sewage treatment plant that measures the gallons that are coming in the plant.
I understand that.
And those are affecting our sewage plant.
I understand that. I always take the position that it's good to speak with experts in their field, get their opinions, and then go from there. Because what do I know about running a sewer district? What do I know about charging sewer rate? I don't know anything about it. So let's find out from people that do know where they come up with their information, where they get their figures from, and then we can make our own decision. That's the reason that we spoke with him.
We can talk about this more at another time.
There's no other resolutions walked on, and we only had 2 tonight. We can move to department reports. Code Enforcement Office.
Yes. Sorry about that, NA. I keep forgetting to take that off, but he's here.
I don't know what that name was. You are applicable.
Old, what's his name?
You're not now.
I haven't gotten my January report out. It's a pretty big project this month that I had to get through, but I'll get to it for next month. The planning board does have a work session tomorrow, and they're trying to finish up the solar battery law, and they'll start looking at the cannabis law. To get a cannabis law, we don't have one. And I think I might have told you that the hospital will be back in with a sketch plan in March. They changed things around and they just want to bring a sketch plan in. And I'm hopeful that Sonic should be on that agenda too. I'm just waiting to get them, have them figure out what they're doing with the DOT, and then they'll be back in. But their secret running out yet, 60 days. And they're like almost run out of time. So they have to do something quick.
Is that their equipment back there?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're taking the graves out and they're gonna take that building down. They already got the demolition permits for all of that. And,
So we'll call that progress.
oh, absolutely.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's, a simple phone call can straighten out a lot of misconceptions. And, you know, we've taken social media down to an all-time low. And when people say the hospital's never gonna go up in our lifetime, then perhaps as you drive by, you may wanna look to the left or the right, you see that work's been going on all along. As we mentioned in the past, asbestos remediation had to be done on the building, the white building that was there from the old Cornell group. They did that, and now they're ready to take down the building. And now, as many of you will see, the drapes from behind there that Cornell used to maintain to, I believe, Walmart, have been taken down. So indeed, work is being done, moving forward on the hospital. So hopefully we can put that to rest. And for all the editors of the social media, feel free to pass it on to your constituents. We appreciate it.
They're only waiting to take the building down because for some reason, and I really have no idea why, but they have to get DEC approval. I'm not sure what the DEC ever had to do with that project, but they're just waiting for the DEC to approve it, which I don't really see a problem.
I think it was because of the remediation, is what I was told. But
But that would be the labor board, and they've got that, you know, they've already done all that, so that should be
Okay.
good. But they already got their demolition permits, and they're working through whatever other practices they have. If I could maybe, once they get in a liaison, maybe meet with them, and there's some fees that I want to maybe think about adjusting. Some of them are really low. Electrical for one, it's a $10 permit. For residential, that's okay, but for commercial, I think that's how it's really low. So, but I just want to run it by the electrical board first.
Sure.
And get their advice. And then I think that should come up considerably, or at least based on the project. And
your sources of revenue,
I
right?
just did a $600,000 project at the doctor's office here at 12 Center. And the part of the permit that was, for electrical, was $10. That seems,
For a $6,000 project.
you know, yeah, that seems really low. So when we've got to be there 4 or 5 times. So, okay. But once I can use their liaisons or something,
Sure.
I'll have, you know, get their opinions and stuff, and then bring to the board.
Anything else, Chuck?
That's it. I want you to get that done quickly before you get our season. I think we have a couple other big projects coming up.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Chuck, I just want to touch base, looking at the solar law, I read through it extensively today, and I know we're going to talk about it and vote on it tonight. There are 2 tiers of solar activity. Tier 1, which is less than 25 kilowatts per hour, and Tier 2, which is more on the commercial side, is greater than 25 kilowatts per hour. So the battery storage law that the planning board is currently working on applies to the Tier 2, the commercial side of it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, and everybody
There are
knows.
actually 3 tiers for the battery one.
Okay.
There's 3 tiers, but I think they're still working on how they want to do that. So that's not actually stone yet. That was one of the issues that they'll work on tomorrow night.
Okay.
Feel free to come to the planning board meeting
Yep.
tomorrow night, for work session. And I know there's a couple of concerns. After that, I probably would request our attorney to come because there was a question with escrow versus something else they wanted to do for holding monies back. I think bonding, they don't want to bond, they want to go into escrow with funds in case the project ever, a project ever pulls out and goes away. But I think we want our attorney to kind of look at that too. So, but they'll work on that tomorrow night if anybody's interested. And again, the 19th of March, so I'm sure everybody's interested here. The hospital will be here, so if you want to come, listen in.
Thank you, Chuck.
Yes, sir.
DPW.
Nothing really to report. Hopefully winter wraps up here pretty quick.
How are we on remaining salt?
So we're close. We have a few 100 ton left. We should be okay as long as nothing crazy happens. But
Again, more compliments from the general public on the way that the street team's been working and clearing the sidewalks quickly as well. So thank you, and please pass that on to the team.
thank you.
Oh, I did have a question for Scott. I know there's a pile of snow behind the Russo building on the corner over there. And I was at a meeting last week, and as it was melting, it was creating a real icy area. Is there any way that you can remove some of that snow
When
so
we get
when it
caught up, we
melts?
try to move as many piles as possible.
That would be wonderful, because it's a real hazardous condition. Thank you.
Yeah, it's also blocking a little bit of the traffic.
I'm talking about the one closer to the
Right on the very corner.
hall.
Yeah,
Across from the fire hall, right on the corner of the
Oh, that's
Russo
all.
building.
yeah.
Right, where you park right along the back of the Russo building. There was quite a large pile of snow there, and as it was melting, it was creating an icy area for anyone that was going to park at any of those meters.
Okay.
Thank you.
No report from the fire department tonight.
He's doing training with his guys.
Police department, I know he's not here today. I do want to thank the police department and the fire department. We held our first Not Fred Fest committee meeting with, I was going to make it as part of my report, but as long as we're talking about police and fire. Stockton County Sheriff's Department, Dunkirk Fire Department, Police Department, New York State Police, as I said, the sheriffs, as well as our own police department. A couple of our trustees were there today as well, and members of Fredonia State that represented student activities, and also the student senate, the college senate. We're going to be talking to them further. I think you might agree that it was pretty, not only well attended as every law enforcement official, including the college's police department, was there. There are plans underway with the college to have an alternative event. Right now it's scheduled the week before the 2nd and 3rd, which has traditionally been, unfortunately, Not Fred Fest. But I think we made a lot of progress today, and just want the public to know we're following through with what we talked about, not only developing that committee, and everybody showed up that was an integral part of that committee and invited, and we will continue with those meetings because we're only 3 months away, so we're working on it. And I thought it was a very positive meeting, and I want to thank everybody who attended. Recreation Department, I talked with Trustee Twitchell. Last meeting we talked about the possibility of having all department heads here. The difference being is that recreation years ago, when Tom was here, used to be here, is because they had fall and winter recreation activities. I would ask the board to consider a start date and an end date when you would like to start seeing the seasonal department head, which is Kayla, come in as we get closer to planning for the summer we get, which, and this is coming up pretty soon. And then again, maybe the week after or 2 weeks after, the Halloween trunk or treat, which is usually the end of her season. Even though she did do the Christmas letters to Santa and everything else kind of on her own. And we appreciate that. But really at this point in time, considering she's seasonally paid, I would agree with Trustee Twitchell that I didn't see a need to be here. But if you feel, if you want to discuss that, we can consider that.
Personally, I'm fine her not being here as long as she's communicating with her liaisons. And so if there is something that you can, I'm good.
She's not really employed right now, she's not receiving a paycheck, so.
I'm good
Yeah.
with that.
And we'll probably have to have a resolution to rehire her again. Is that true, Alyssa?
You shouldn't,
No.
Not unless the last year stated just for that season, but I don't think it did.
Okay, could you take a look and let me know? Thank you.
I think that would be if you were replacing her with somebody, but that's not.
No, I really want to keep Kayla, she's wonderful.
So if there's anything that she needs to, since you're the committee member, you can communicate.
I've been communicating with her about the move too.
Thank you. Wastewater treatment plant.
We completed our annual flow certification and that is turned into the DEC. We are continuing to work on cleaning out our clear well and we're making progress on that, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Water treatment plant.
Nothing to report.
It's good.
Do you have extra hoses? Did you order hoses?
I just went to another vendor today, so they're looking into it.
You don't have them yet, though?
I have one extra one now.
I think you have to get on that as soon as you can.
I went today, so they're supposed
Great.
to call me soon.
If you could, expedite that. Thank you, Louis.
Thank you, Louis.
And also Louis and I are gonna be having a meeting probably this week. Would that work for you? Okay, just to discuss some things at the plant.
Good. New business, Chautauqua County Sewer Use Ordinance, local law on file in clerk's office.
That's the 60-page document that we all got copies of. I don't know if anybody else took the time to look through it. I unfortunately had some free time. And there's, whatever's in there doesn't pertain to us.
It seems pretty boilerplate, too, a lot
it's
of
just-
it.
Yeah,
Okay.
So should we pass a resolution accepting it?
we should.
Okay.
They're looking for, the county's looking for that, right?
You want to
Yes.
accept this? Well, pass
This?
a resolution?
This? Yeah,
At their
Yeah.
meeting?
yeah, because like you said, it's
No,
just,
what, next meeting?
Next meeting.
It's,
I was gonna say, I don't think there was something.
no, there's not, but it should be.
what about the cost?
There's no cost.
There is no cost.
No.
Is there any other new business, under new business?
Yeah, a couple things. When we were in NICOM, I spoke with a gentleman with a sign company, and I think I reported this last meeting. And Urlissa and I and the mayor spoke about this, and she said that she believes that these could be purchased through CHIPS money. So I looked at the CHIPS requirements, and one of the subsections was traffic signs. So indeed, we could use CHIPS money, and then the question is, okay, if we use CHIPS money and we put a sign, and I spoke with Scott Marsh about this, we change signs out. We're not putting in a new sign, we would just be changing the sign. It's a yellow flashing sign with a solar panel on top of it to power it. If we changed out a sign on Center, does that mean we could no longer, or we couldn't for the next 10 years do any work on Central? I called DEC today to try to get, or DOT today to try to get some information. They haven't called me back, so I'm waiting to hear back from them to find out, what kind of impact that would have if we did use CHIPS money to do that.
Are you talking about Center crossing Main Street?
What's that?
Are you talking about on Center?
Central, no, crossing Center by the college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we were
Sorry,
talking about
Center.
I think I know what you're talking about. We were talking about having those same signs down Main Street.
Yeah,
Where the
yeah,
crosswalks
I was
are,
gonna say,
certain
that's all
crosswalks.
state DOT
But
stuff.
also Central Avenue has been
Right.
noted as a
Yeah.
dangerous spot too.
So, and I counted them, there's actually, I think, believe, 7 crosswalks on 20. You know, I guess we'll have to decide if we're gonna be able to do this, how many of those we want to purchase and what locations we want to put
We
them.
can't do any on 20.
We're not putting up new signs, we're replacing a sign.
So part of our Safe Streets work group was discussing with them, we can't do anything with anything on 20.
If we get DOT permission to do it.
They are looking into putting in, as part of their repaving project for this year, some of those signs.
They're looking into it or they're going to do it?
So I know that there's a couple that they for sure were going to do. I told them if I could have them at every crosswalk, I want them at every crosswalk.
Can you give me your contact at DOT? Do you have, is there something that you guys spoke with or are working with?
Yeah, he's no longer there, which is real inconvenient.
He left.
So,
He was
but
frustrated.
but their project did expand vastly from what their initial paving was going to be to where they're at now dollar-wise. So I assume that means that they're gonna give us a lot of what we asked for.
So the local guy is Andrew Riverjat, I believe. He's the Chautauqua County DOT rep, is that?
He's the engineer,
Yeah, were you
Is he-
working with him, do you know?
No,
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
he wasn't one of us,
That's
but
all
anyway.
They
so-
had a start date on that yet?
No start date, I wanna say they were thinking about spring, but it's state DOT
In
schedule,
September,
so,
yeah.
It's probably gonna be like a month-long project with all of our additions.
As Chuck alluded to earlier, I got a copy of the Pomfret cannabis law, and I went through it and made some, what I thought, changes that reflect the village and not necessarily the town, and I gave it to Chuck to give to the planning board so they could look it over. I think the cannabis guy that was approved for it is ready to move forward, so I'd like to get the law on the books before he opens up. So the planning board could take a look at it, give us recommendations, and we can save the attorney's fees from drafting a new one. And the only other thing I had is we discussed the parking app, and getting rid of the majority of the parking meters. I talked to the mayor today and I said perhaps it'd be a good idea to have, and I know that you found a company, maybe have him come in and give us a presentation of how they work, and we can have Scott there and Dave. And
It's a company called Metro Easy. It's being used in Erie, PA, and it was originated out of Erie, PA. And before people get upset about the app situation, the meters are outdated. Our meters, in many cases, don't work in temperatures like they are right now. Probably shouldn't tell you that, because now everybody will be parking in front of meters. But the idea being that many communities have big kiosks that you have to walk to the kiosk and do all these things, and you end up using your app anyhow. So this is a simple app application. Put in the parking lot number. If you're sitting in a meeting and all of a sudden you're running out of time, it's very easy, just type in another 20 minutes or whatever you need, 10 minutes. You don't have to have kiosks. For those folks that don't have phones and don't use apps, the suggestion would be that there'd be a small number of 1 or 2 metered spots where meters currently are, and maybe probably 6 meters per parking lot towards the back end, with regards to signage directing to them. If you don't have the app or don't want to use the app, there's metered parking in the public parking areas. Another discussion, just because we're under new business, I'd like the board to consider possibility of charging. You have to do research as to who the local residents are, whether they're college students or whatever, but charging for leaving cars in the public parking space. Some have been covered with snow all winter and haven't moved at all. There's one car that is full of auto parts, and I'm pretty sure they don't drive around there. And there's another car apparently uses the clubhouse for smoking whatever they're smoking, as I've seen it 3 times already. So it's not cars that are being used to transport back and forth to school or back and forth to business. It seems to be a temporary dumping ground for some. And I know that many of the residents, college residents, have been using it because the apartments they may be in don't have parking. That doesn't mean that it has to be free. And considering where our budget is and the fact that we have to look for new sources of revenue besides the revenue we already generate, I hope that maybe we can study that and see if it's viable. If it's not viable, we don't have to do it, but we're doing an awful lot of work trying to cut budgets, which I totally understand, but we also have to look at new sources of revenue that other communities already generate. So if you consider that and come back to me with suggestions so that we can move forward on that. We're coming to the end of the school year, so maybe something that we could possibly institute come summer, once classes have let out, and we can identify where folks live and who's parking there.
I mean, are these cars that just are essentially abandoned? Because they can just be towed away.
I don't think they're abandoned. I think they're just, I think the students brought them down. Maybe they're not using them as much as they usually do. But I mean, when I go to a couple of restaurants downtown, there's 4 or 5 guys in the car. There's plenty of smoke coming out the window. So, and it seems to be the same car all the time. So, I mean, if it's just being used as a parking spot until the end of school, rent it. We don't, you know, we're not required to have free parking for.
Are they parking in the, because I know before we tried handling this by saying 23 hours.
I was gonna say, they should be getting ticketed.
Yeah. They're the one, mostly on this side.
Right.
Is where it's happening.
Yeah, because I don't think we have any spots that are available for 24-hour parking, so they should be
Eventually, when we
ticketed.
do end up having to repave, if they're not there, they'll be towed. So, if they're not moving them. But just things to consider, and consider relatively quickly, either yes or no. If there's no new business, is there any old business that needs to be brought before?
Mayor, I'd like to bring something up.
Where are we at in hiring officers?
We have an interview on Friday.
Okay, perfect.
I'd like to.
Just one?
Yeah, that's the only response so far.
Okay.
Just want to talk about the couple of meetings ago, I had discussed a company that offers pilot projects for street safety. Obvio, O-B-V-I-O. They are currently doing a pilot project in the city of Batavia and currently in North Tonawanda. And what they offer is equipment that monitors street safety. So that includes speeding, any kind of moving violation infractions. And they'd be willing to come in to the village. I've already had discussions with them and put their data monitoring equipment in strategic areas in our village to collect data, where are the trouble spots. And I think it might be a good idea if they came to our, maybe a workshop, gave a presentation, so the whole board could see it and understand it. Just like to know what.
Did you discuss this at all with the police chief?
He was actually, yes, last meeting he was here, he didn't say anything, so he's not giving me any input on it.
I would have a meeting with him one-on-one to discuss this.
I can do that.
Yeah, get his input before we invite anybody in.
Yeah.
Sure,
And,
okay.
Yeah, just have him be part of that.
Yeah, no, I don't mean to,
Yeah.
and I don't mean to override, what our
Yeah.
police are doing.
Yeah.
This would be like the supplement.
Yeah,
So-
tool for,
Right.
yeah.
Well, considering that the Go Bike report said that we're having some fairly major speeding going on Central, it's probably worth a look at.
And other streets as well.
See what the chief has to say.
Okay, I'll make it
Not like that.
Any other old business?
So we agreed that we were gonna look into a new chlorination system, but before we do that, we'd have to put RFPs out, and
It'll be in the paper on Thursday.
look at you.
Thursday.
Why do I doubt that that's already happening? Thank you.
Just the fact that he did, shouldn't. If there's no other business, I'd like a motion to adjourn this meeting, workshop. Humor me.
I move we adjourn.
Thank you, man. We have a second?
Sure, second.
Okay. Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Sirkis? Thank you, gentlemen. See you at 7 o'clock. Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, New York, 911 Church Street, February 18, 2025. Meeting starts at 7 p.m. I'm Mayor Mike Ferguson, calling this meeting to order. Roll call for trustees. Trustee Esperson.
Here.
Trustee Brockler.
Here.
Trustee Syracuse.
Here.
Trustee Wendell.
Here.
Trustee Twitchell.
Here.
Please stand for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And approval of the minutes, please.
Whereas members of this board have read the official minutes of the Board of Trustees special meeting of January 31st, 2025, and whereas members of this board have read the official minutes of the Board of Trustees regular meeting of February 5th, 2025, and whereas members of this board have read the official minutes of the Board of Trustees special meeting of February 13th, 2025. Now therefore, be resolved that the board hereby approves the minutes as entered into the official minutes, and be it further resolved that the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Second.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Trustee Brockler.
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse.
Aye.
Trustee Wendell.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
This portion of the meeting is for public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak, once recognized, shall stand at the microphone and state their name and address. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes of speaking for themselves or 5 minutes of speaking on behalf of a group. I will ask the speakers to refrain from remarks that are in poor taste, slanderous, or not germane to any action taken or contemplated by the board.
Only speaker is James Linden, Fredonia.
James Linden, Castile Drive, Fredonia. The cost of running a community. In the last special board meeting, the mayor made claims that the village went almost 5 years with no more than a 53-cent tax rate increase. Let's remind him of the $2.30 rate increase in his first budget. Sadly, again, he makes misleading and false statements in an attempt to put blame on past village boards for his lack of understanding governmental fiscal affairs and inability to manage the budget. It has taken him and this current board a short amount of time to put this village into a financial crisis. The approved village budgets of 2020-21, there was no rate increase, and the tax rate was $35.19 per thousand, and a property tax levy of $2,822,995. The 2021-22 budget, there was a 1.5% rate increase that equates to an additional 50 cents per thousand. The 22-23 budget, there was one rate increase of 1.47%, in addition, as an additional 49 cents per thousand. The 23-24 budget, there was a 1.97% rate increase that equates to an additional 77 cents per thousand. The 24-25 budget, there was a 5.85% rate increase that equates to $2.30 per thousand increase, totaling a $39.25 per thousand. For property tax levy, that was $3,151,638. with tax rate increases forward over the last 5 years totaling $4.06 increase per thousand. That's just over $1.01 average annual increase, and a total of $328,643 property tax levy increase. Since January 2024, when this mayor took office, they have overspent that year budgeted funds. Then in his 2024-25 budget, they lowered the minimum fund balance and spent that money, raised the tax levy by more than the state tax cap's percentage, and spent that money and have requested an additional $825,000 loan just to get through this fiscal year. The mayor leaves no reason for us to believe he knows what is in the best interest of the village. With his continued push to buy water through the North County Water District and close a reservoir and water plant, and additionally combine our fire and police services with other municipalities that are in extreme financial stress, even though studies had shown those ideas to be not reasonable. There must be a drastic change made in your agenda, because this is the cost of mismanaging a community. Thank you.
Thank you. Your timing is perfect, Jim, because I'd like to talk about the last 7 budgets that you were a part of. And by the way, only one broke even without getting into the reserve funds. I'd like to ask you about 17 years of requests to dredge the reservoir, which is now only 14 feet deep and it's the largest point. Okay, I'd like you to ask about that. I'd like you to ask why we have to replace it.
This is the public portion.
This is the public portion, and the public portion is closed.
Not for us to.
So, you also want to talk it out. We're going to take shots, we're going to take shots. Under your guidance of 7 years, the fire department increased threefold. Under you. Why didn't you do it? Why didn't you do it, Jim? Why didn't you do this?
You're the one who came into office.
Not the time and place.
You go back decades. How many decades?
Let's go back decades.
How many decades?
You've been here, what, 8, 12 years?
Not a back and forth.
And out of 7 of your budgets, the last 7 budgets, all of them failed except for one, because you reserved money to pay for it. That's fact, my friend. You want to come in here and help? Come in here and help with something positive, because you're real good at the negative.
I came here and before the board, I came here before the board, before you passed that budget, to try to explain to you exactly where you.
I'll run a budget that you ran in this ground 7 straight years.
All right, that's enough. That is enough.
You're not the mayor. Let him speak.
That's enough.
That's enough.
You spoke, I spoke. We're done.
This is not what the public portion is for.
He started.
I'm not saying anything. I'm saying it's not the purpose of a public portion.
It's not. You're right.
Thank you. I'm not always wrong.
Thank you.
Correspondence? Correspondence dated February 10th, 2025 was received from Lauren Boyle and Greg Krause, co-chairs of the Fredonia Farm Festival, requesting to schedule the 57th Annual Fredonia Farm Festival for the weekend of August 22nd to the 24th, 2025.
Be it resolved that the request from the Fredonia Farm Festival to hold the 57th Annual Farm Festival the weekend of August 22nd through 24th, 2025, with an updated and detailed letter submitted approximately 6 to 8 weeks before the event is hereby approved. The Farm Festival co-chairs will provide a certificate of insurance naming the village as an additional insured in the amount of $1 million.
Second.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
That's all for correspondence.
Take a look at the report for, my report for the 18th of February 2025. We have put out an RFP for an additional attorney. It is not to replace Webster Zani, who's done excellent work for us over the years. It's just adding some different strengths that, every law office brings something else to the table. We're broadening our arsenal of opportunities, and also you're not paying for those services unless you use those services. So it has nothing to do with replacing our current law office at all. It's just adding to our list of possible attorneys for future use. Today was the first meeting of the Not-for-Fest Committee we held, as we spoke about. We want to thank everybody who helped work with that. The May event will take place on May 2nd and 3rd. Positive discussions about inclusion, collaboration, not only with law enforcement, but also with the college itself for the health and safety of our students, our residents, our visitors, and officers of the law. We're also working with 2 new companies that have products that may generate parking ease, generating a consistent source of parking revenue. Metro EZ out of Erie that we spoke about, and Trustee Esperson also talked about the fact that we're looking at yellow lights that can be attached to what we've identified as dangerous crosswalks. Not necessarily the placement of the crosswalks nor the people who are crossing, but people who are not stopping, which is the law, not only through New York State, but through the US. When a citizen enters a crosswalk, you're required to allow them to pass. So this is for the safety of them. We will look at possible grants to pay for those. And as we said, we're looking at the CHIPS opportunity. Throughout the week, we've been meeting with various residents to hear the concerns and ideas for the community. I want to reassure the community that both budget and our water situation is front and center of our focus and attention. Let me explain where we are with regards to water. When we had the boil water order, it was, just move forward and connect with Dunkirk. Why are we doing studies? For anything you do, you have to have a study. That requires a seeker, that requires a study of sometimes environmental studies, other elements that go into those studies for approval. Those studies have to be conducted prior to just simply connecting to anything and doing anything. So while we are focusing on that, we are in the early stages of another study that is being conducted with the town of Pomfret and North County Water District. And again, those monies for that project have been secured at no cost to the taxpayer. We are currently in the middle of renewing and renegotiating contracts for both police and fire. I believe we'll be working on the CSEA contract sometime in the very near future.
Yes.
Okay, we'll also be seeking sponsors for our summer music series, New Year's Eve Ball Drop, and for some cable television programming. If you are interested in sponsoring an event, a number of events, please reach out to either myself or Trustee Twitchell at the emails located on our website, and we'd be glad to speak to you. Finally, the village has switched email addresses for Village Hall and all village departments to emails ending with @villageoffredonianewyork.gov. If you do business with us or want to contact us, please refer to our website for all the new email addresses. Many of the addresses you had for trustees and or department heads, which were personal email, will no longer connect to those individuals. For example, my new email address is mayor@villageoffredonianewyork.ny.gov. There's no cost to convert our addresses, but we will secure our emails more, keep them in line with most government agencies. It also protects both the employee and the village in the future. Too many of the village addresses were based on personal email addresses. This will secure our system and also make sure that transitions, once employees retire or voted out of office, easier to retain emails and transition new employees or elected officials. So in other words, if DPW director decides to take another job rather than using his personal names, it would be DPW director @ it would be cable @ it would be mayor @ village clerk @ and the reason why we do that is so that we can secure those files for future use by other individuals, and whoever does take that position in the near future will then be able to just take over that email without loss. It is by law that we must keep emails as village officials. Trustee and committee reports. Trustee Brockler.
I was able to attend the Not Fred Fest meeting today, and I found it very interesting. I'm quite pleased with the response of our local law enforcement, the state police, the sheriff's department, and so on. I think that possibly with their help, we'll be able to keep a little bit more of a lid on what's been going on in the village. We absolutely have to do something.
Trustee Esperson.
Yeah, I was at that meeting today, and the takeaway that has been mentioned yet is the state police indicated that they'd be willing to dedicate however much manpower we would request from them, so Chief Price is gonna work with them to kind of make that determination. I met with Chief Price last week to discuss, he had staffing concerns, we talked about that. I've been speaking with the state regarding the next steps we have to take to become a pro-housing community. Alyssa has a template gathering information, and this evening Chuck had given me the information that we had requested from him, which Alyssa also has, and she will be putting it into that template so we can get that submitted to the state and become a pro-housing community. More to follow. So I've got.
Thank you. Trustee Syracuse.
We'll be interviewing potential dog catchers this week. Also have a candidate for a police officer. Negotiations with PBA will be this week as well. Yeah, that's all I have for now.
Trustee Twitchell.
Yes, I'm happy to report that we finally made the move to move the cable room upstairs in the Recreation Director's office. And that was done through the help of the DPW workers, Josh, Jake, and Robbie, and I want to thank them for their work. And I know Chip's really happy with his new room, and he'll be working on it to make it feel like home, right, Chip?
I want to try. Might be a little claustrophobia.
And also, there was some items that you'll see out in the hallway here. We still have to figure out whether we're going to use them or not. And I might ask the trustees to allow us to put them up for auction if there's no use to any extra items that we have. There's a desk out there. I don't think anybody wants that. But also, I did want to mention that I wanted to correct myself with the Fredonia Volunteer Fire Department and how they use money out of their equipment fund. They paid $250,000 towards the new ladder truck, and they paid $261,000 towards the new ambulance, and I just wanted to report that. Thank you, Mayor.
Trustee Wandell.
Just to echo what Trustee Twitchell had just mentioned about Cable Committee, we met last week, February 12th. Equipment was successfully moved into the new space, and we also had discussion on some miscellaneous items. DPW report on February 12th, same day, had a meeting with our treasurer and Trustee Twitchell and Superintendent David Felt, wastewater, to discuss the PPD contract for sewage discharge into the Fredonia wastewater plant, specifically rates and what we are charging now and what we potentially would be charging, and the length of the new contract. So those are the two key areas of focus. Secondly, I had informed David Felt of the wastewater plant of EPG. EPG is our engineering planning grant, and he is now working on that grant application with the treasurer. Has a due date of April 11th, and a webinar on this grant is scheduled for February 26th at 10 a.m. And then I will be meeting this week with Louis Fred, the water treatment plant supervisor, to discuss the water treatment plant chlorination subsystem and that upgrade project. Details will include the project scope and considered sodium hypochlorite generation system from a company called Chlortech. This is also associated with a liquid chlorine pumping system for chlorine dosing and discussing details of interfacing that into the existing automation and SCADA systems, and that's it.
Thank you. Treasurer's report.
Nothing to report tonight.
Any additional reports?
Yes, I have. The following report is for the month of January from the Fredonia Justice Court. Total number of cases closed 99. Of those, vehicle and traffic 72, criminal cases 21, village ordinances 5, civil cases 1. Total fines and surcharges $4,071. Parking ticket fines $1,302 for a total of $5,373. And that's the only report I have.
Resolutions.
Be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia hereby schedules a public hearing on the third day of March 2025 at 5:30 p.m. in the Trustees Room, second floor of Village Hall, Fredonia, New York, to receive comments from the public regarding the Village of Fredonia's proposed local law number 3 of 2025 entitled "The Local Law Amending Section 208-36 of the Code of the Village of Fredonia, Reports of Violations, Citations," and be it further resolved that the village clerk is hereby directed to publish said notice of said hearing pursuant to village law. Is a copy of the law available on the website?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not gonna read the whole local law then, it's available on the website.
Have a second?
Second.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Brachler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the proposal invoice for elevator maintenance of Buffalo Inc., 65 Innsbrook Drive, Cheektowaga, for $3,400 is hereby approved.
Second.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Brachler?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the board meeting of the trustees of the Village of Fredonia as set forth and attached to these minutes will hereby start immediately following the workshop, and be it further resolved that the village clerk is hereby authorized to publish a notice in the Observer and mail a copy to said schedule to WEOE Radio.
Second?
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Brachler?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees amended committees are hereby approved and is set forth and attached to these minutes.
Second.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Brachler?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
I, with the understanding that Trustee Twitchell's been added to the,
Thank you.
yeah.
To
Yes.
the building
Planning.
inspector office.
Yep.
Thank you.
Aye.
As amended.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Whereas the village is responsible to provide an employee assistance program for its personnel, and whereas ESI Group Wellsville, New York has offered to provide EAP services to the village's 87 employees for 12 months at a cost of $3,600, therefore be it resolved the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to enter into agreement with the ESI Group to provide EAP services.
Second.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brachler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Whereas proposed law number 1 of 2025 to opt out of the exemption from taxation for certain energy systems under real property tax law, section 487 of the Village of Fredonia was presented to the Board of Trustees to consider for adoption, and whereas a public hearing of proposed local law number 1 of 2025 was held on January 21st, 2025 in accordance with the notice of hearing duly posted and published in the manner prescribed by law, and all parties in attendance were permitted an opportunity to speak in support of or in opposition to said proposed local law or any part thereof. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, after due deliberation, finds it in the best interest of the village to adopt said local law. Now therefore be it resolved, the Village of Fredonia hereby adopts said local law as local law number 1 of 2025 entitled Local Law Opting Out of the Exemption from Taxation under Section 487 of the Real Property Tax Law for the Village of Fredonia, a copy of which is attached here to and made a part thereof. Be it further resolved, the Village of Fredonia clerk is hereby directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting and the local law book of the Village of Fredonia, and to give due notice of adoption of said local law to the Secretary of State by filing the same with the Secretary of State as required by law. Is further directed to email or mail a copy of the local law and resolution to the New York State Tax Department Office of Counsel for filing as required by statute.
Second.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Brachler?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Page 12 is where you have to get to.
You don't want to read the entire?
Oh, no, thank you. Whereas proposed local law number 2 of 2025, which regulates the installation of and placement of solar equipment and systems within the Village of Fredonia was presented to the Board of Trustees to consider for adoption. And whereas a public hearing on proposed local law number 2 of 2025 was held on January 21st, 2025, in accordance with the notice of hearing duly posted and published in the manner prescribed by law, and all parties in attendance were permitted an opportunity to speak in support of or in opposition to said proposed local law or any part thereof. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, after due deliberation, finds it in the best interest of the village to adopt said local law. Now therefore be it resolved, the Village of Fredonia hereby adopts said local law as local law number 2 of 2025, entitled Regulating the Installation, Placement of Solar Equipment and Systems in the Village of Fredonia, a copy of which is attached hereto and made a part hereof. And be it further resolved, the Village of Fredonia clerk is hereby directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting and the local law book of the Village of Fredonia, and to give due notice of the adoption of said local law to the Secretary of State by filing the same with the Secretary of State as required by law.
Second.
Trustee Twitchell?
There were certain parts of this law that I wanted them to consider to change, just some minor changes, and they didn't make them, so I'll vote nay on this right now.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
I did extensive research on this law, and I spoke with the planning board, and I feel confident in it, so my vote is aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the training request of Matthew Edwards, operator trainee at the water treatment plant, to attend basic wastewater operation training at SUNY JCC April 28 to May 9, 2025 is hereby approved at a cost not to exceed $1,595.
Second.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye. Be resolved that the training request of Louis Fred, Chief Operator at the Water Treatment Plant, to attend American Water Works Association New York section in Saratoga, New York, April 14th, 17th, 2025 is hereby approved at a cost not to exceed $1,476.84.
Second.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
We have a walk-on tonight.
Yes, we do.
Be it resolved that pursuant to section 5-520 of Village Law, the attached budget amendment is approved.
Second.
Trustee Esperson?
Aye.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Is there a reason to go into executive session?
No.
Okay. Before we end, ladies and gentlemen, I'll apologize to our constituents for my outbreak tonight. And again, when people want to bring positive solutions to the committee, please feel free to call us anytime, email, or drop by when we're in the office. So once again, my apologies for unprofessional conduct. Next meeting scheduled to be held, the next Village Board of Trustees workshop and board meeting will take place on Monday, March 3rd, 2025, 6 p.m. in this room, the Trustees Room, second floor, Village Hall, for the board meeting to follow. A motion to end this session.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Trustee Brockler?
Aye.
Trustee Esperson? Didn't mean to confuse you.
The questions only get harder.
Yes.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell?
Aye.
Trustee Wendell?
Aye.
Trustee Syracuse?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everybody.